What is up, guys? So with every new season of the Arrowverse, we typically get a couple new villains. However, this time around we got not only the new villains from more shows than ever before, but also the addition of Black Lightning to this list, meaning that there are 8 or 9 new villains that this list will cover. Now, I would have done this list earlier, would have made this video earlier, but as you probably know, if you don't, you could check out this video in the top right corner. My situation right now doesn't really allow me to make a lot of videos, and this is a video that does take a little bit more time to make, specifically since there are so many villains. But with that in mind, this is my video ranking for all of the main villains of the Arrowverse, meaning Arrow the Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning, and Batwoman, from least to most powerful. With that in mind, let's get right into it because there are a lot of villains to cover, and not a lot of time. Alice has no powers. She has no actual power, like in terms of power in the government or even control over like a city or something. The only power she has, which is at least something, is that she's the leader of the Wonderland gang, which is really just a gang and not exactly a very powerful one at that. Because of that, Alice, without her powers and without her power, Alice is the least powerful villain that the Arrowverse has ever seen, or at least main villain. Prometheus doesn't have any powers. He does have power in the government, which is very limited. He's the district attorney, or he was the district attorney of Star City, which isn't really much of anything, but it's at least more than the power Alice has. And in terms of being the leader of something, he is the leader of his team, which is a lot smaller than the Wonderland gang. However, it is a lot more powerful, as it has Black Siren, Talia al Ghul, and the followers of Talia al Ghul, which are a lot more skilled and powerful than the Wonderland gang ever. So Prometheus is finally not the least powerful main villain in the Arrowverse. Being the leader of the Freeland division of the ASA, Martin Procter is at least more powerful in the government to Prometheus, and he's also got more power overall than Alice as well. However, he is one of the least powerful villains in the entirety of the Arrowverse, because while he does have that governmental power, it's a very, very low ranking power, and he also doesn't have any powers of his own. So Martin Procter is a very, very, very powerless villain in the Arrowverse. Malcolm Merlin's only power, because he doesn't have any powers, is that he is a billionaire, which isn't, again, it's not considered a power, and it's not going to put him any higher on the list. But being a billionaire, being as rich as he is, he definitely has power over people. He can do a lot more things than a normal human being can do, and I think that it's even more powerful than the ranking that Martin Procter has in the government, and also a lot more than Prometheus and Alice could ever have. So Dark Archer, while not being high on the list, is at least higher than those villains. Emiko Queen is the last villain on this list that doesn't have any powers, well, technically, but anyway, Emiko Queen doesn't have any powers. The only power she has is that she's the leader of the Ninth Circle, which is a League of Assassins type group, not as powerful as the League of Assassins, but apparently just as influential somehow. But the fact that she is the leader of this group means that she is more powerful than the villains we've gone over so far, but again, not exactly all that powerful. This is where we get into the actual villains with powers, as the main villain of Black Lightning Season 2, Tobias Whale, has enhanced strength and enhanced longevity, the longevity making him look like the same age he looked 40 years ago, and while, again, those powers aren't exactly all that powerful, meaning he's actually the least powerful villain in the Arrowverse that does have actual powers. Still, though, it is higher than the other villains so far because he does have actual powers, and not just power. For most of his run as main villain, Ricardo Diaz had no powers, and the only power he had was control over Star City, which is not nothing and would make him higher than certain other villains on this list, although he is higher than, let's say, Tobias Whale, because in Season 7 he took a drug that gave him enhanced strength. So with the enhanced strength plus the control over Star City, I think that this is where he should be on the list. Ra's al Ghul is a bit of a tricky one because he doesn't technically have any powers. However, I think his access to the Lazarus Pit kind of does count as one, since it gives him not only a healing factor, which he can heal from practically anything, but also a longevity much stronger than the likes of Tobias Whale. So because of those things, plus the fact that he's the leader of the League of Assassins, which, like I said, is akin to the Ninth Circle, but I consider them to be even more powerful, makes him higher than other villains that actually do have powers, but Ra's al Ghul technically doesn't. Deathstroke is the first villain on this list that has an actual list of powers, including enhanced strength, healing factor, senses, stamina, durability, speed, reflexes, and agility, all of which are not enhanced to the level of Superman, let's say, but are enhanced to the point where he is very easily able to take out anybody, any regular human, and is a lot more powerful than Oliver was in Season 2. It was only after he was cured that Oliver was able to defeat him, making him, I think, a very powerful villain. Vandal Savage has immortality, regeneration, enhanced senses, and physical condition, and apparently he does have some sort of magic. Now, if this was a ranking based off the comic book characters, Vandal Savage I think would be a lot higher because his immortality in the comics is a lot stronger. Here, he was killed. He did die, so his immortality, while he did last like 4,000 years, he did die and he was killed, making him a lot less powerful than he is in, let's say, the comics or in other iterations of the character. So Vandal Savage, I think, could have been higher on the list, but the fact that he was technically killed, and he was killed, is why he's not. Ava McCulloch's powers include Victory Kinesis, which is a manipulation of mirrors, Mirror Clone Creation, a healing factor, mirror portals, as well as energy blasts from the mirrors, and Mirrorverse interdimensional travel, as well as Mirrorverse communication. Now, this is a bit unfair since the season was cut short because of the coronavirus. We didn't get to see the final showdown between Team Flash and Mirror Master and Mirror Mistress. It's possible she could have been shown to be a lot more powerful in that final fight, so as of right now, while she is the least powerful Flash villain, it's possible that with the next 3 episodes that we're going to see in Flash Season 7, she will be shown to be a lot more powerful. So I'm considering both Cicadas for this slot because while Cicada version 2 it does have more powers and is more powerful, I don't think she would be any higher on the list anyway, so I'm just putting them together. Now Cicadas have their lightning dagger, which they can control like Mjolnir, power negation, electricity generation, force field generation, flight, superhuman strength, super durability, and grace can manipulate dark matter. Now you might think that because the cicadas can basically defeat any metahuman by canceling their powers, that means that they're more powerful than those metahumans. I don't agree with that. I just think it means that they have a type advantage over them basically, and as we can see, whenever cicadas can't negate Team Flash's powers, they defeat the cicadas fairly easily, which is why I don't think they should be any higher on the list. However, they can technically defeat all metahumans by just canceling their powers. Rhea's powers include solar energy absorption, a healing factor, super leaping, invulnerability, super speed, and super strength, making her a lot less powerful than the main hero Supergirl, which was, we could see that in Supergirl Season 2, she was just no match for Supergirl, as Supergirl has Kryptonian abilities, and Rhea's Daxamite abilities just don't compare to it at all. However, she is still fairly powerful, just there's a reason she's the lowest of the Supergirl villains. Ramsey Rosso has a number of abilities, including Hemiokinesis, which is the manipulation of blood, the creation of blood constructs, reanimation through the creation of blood constructs, super strength, infection, like the infection of Barry Allen and making him into Dark Flash, which with that power he did have control over a speedster and can potentially have control over even more powerful beings, meaning that he does potentially have a lot more power. As of right now though, I wouldn't put him higher on the list. However, he also has power bestowal, mind manipulation, and a transformation into a blood monster, which I'm guessing would make him even more powerful, and probably did. However, the Flash did defeat him pretty easily, which is why I don't really think I could put him higher on the list. Not counting one other villain that is a completely different story, Damien Darhk is the most powerful villain from Arrow, the most powerful villain, the main villain from Arrow, which is what we're talking about here, as he has dark magic, a healing factor, enhanced endurance and strength, telekinesis, teleportation, electrokinesis, longevity, and life force absorption / draining, plus the force-like abilities that he could just make anybody stop in their place, making him very, very powerful, and Green Arrow was really no match for him until he got some magical powers of his own. Despite being what I consider to be one of the least powerful Kryptonians we've seen in the Arrowverse, Non is still a Kryptonian, making him very, very powerful. His powers include a healing factor, flight, heat vision, invulnerability, longevity, telepathy immunity, X-ray vision, as well as super breath, hearing speed, and strength. Neuron is an immortal demon with the powers of demonic possession, telekinesis, portal openings to hell, conjuration from hell, superhuman strength, range inducement, life force absorption, shapeshifting, flight, telepathy, electromagnetic interference, as well as the aforementioned immortality. The reason he's not higher, despite all of these powers, is that his weaknesses are so bad that I can't really put him higher on the list. He was killed, not defeated, killed by a single spell from Constantine, making him, while he is very powerful, he's got such strong weaknesses that I can't put him higher on the list. Despite being just a regular human being, Lex Luthor is a very, very powerful person, more powerful than the demon from hell that we just went over. His powers included either powers from the Lexosuit, the Harinel, or, well, I'm not counting this, he had the Book of Destiny in Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'm not counting it because it wasn't in Supergirl Season 4, the season that he was the villain of, but the Lexosuit gives him suit materialization, flight, energy projection, a kryptonite sword, enhanced strength, enhanced durability, energy shields, and portal generation, while the Harinel gave him a healing factor, superhuman strength, superhuman durability, flight, and while we never see any of it, I'm guessing all the other powers that Kryptonians had. Not on top of this, but along with this, he also has genius level intellect, and he is also a billionaire. Lex Luthor is exceptionally powerful, despite the fact that he's really just a human being. Being the goddess of technology, Gemimne has technokinesis, which is control over technology, shapeshifting, electrokinesis, a healing factor, longevity, which is she's like thousands and thousands of years old. She's quite possibly the oldest, or not, that's not true. She's one of the oldest main villains in the Arrowverse. However, the fact that we never got to see her fight Supergirl, it does definitely mean something because, like Ava McCulloch, her season was cut short. We never really got to see her in action. I'm sure she would have been even more powerful in those fight scenes. However, what we really can ascertain at this point is that she's a god, she's the god of technology, and she's even more powerful than, let's say, Rama Khan, who I think would be fairly high on this list if he was a main villain. So I'm putting her here on the list, but we'll see in the first couple episodes of Supergirl Season 6 how powerful she can become, and maybe she'll be even higher on the list. Gravedigger, and if you don't know, Gravedigger is the main villain of Black Lightning Season 3, has a healing factor, enhanced longevity, he looks like he's in his prime, but he's over 100 years old, command inducement, superhuman durability, super speed, and super strength, all of which would be fairly powerful, not very high on the list, but still powerful. However, during the end of the season, he gave himself the Meta Booster, which gave him the ability to have any metahuman power he wants. However, he's not higher on the list because the powers he chose weren't exactly the most powerful powers, and if he was to choose more powerful abilities, he would be higher. The powers he used are flight, heat vision, magnetic field, radiokinesis, sonic scream, and telekinesis. He could have used much more powerful abilities, and if he did, again, he'd be higher on the list. Being an actual Greek goddess, Lachesis is obviously very powerful. The powers include teleportation of not only herself, but objects and objects to her. She can shapeshift, she is immortal, and easily the most powerful ability she has is manipulation over life, which doesn't mean manipulation over human beings. She can't control human beings. Her power is manipulation over the lifespan of people, which I think is fairly powerful, actually very powerful, and puts her very high on the list. Rain is basically a Kryptonian on steroids, as if Kryptonians weren't already powerful enough. Her abilities include solar energy absorption, despite the fact that she doesn't actually need the sun to have her powers. She's also not weak to kryptonite, and she has enhanced memory, super smell, super hearing, super vision, electromagnetic spectrum vision, microscopic vision, x-ray vision, infrared thermal vision, super stamina, healing factor, flight, heat vision, invulnerability, longevity, super breath, super speed, super strength, telepathy, immunity, and the power she took from the other world killers when they died, the sonic scream, empathy, which she can basically look into people's psyches, virus spreading from pestilence, as well as deadly retractable claws, making her a, like I said, Kryptonian on steroids with even more powers and less weaknesses. Now we get to the Speedsters, which is, I think, the most powerful type of regular main villain. There are other main villains like certain gods or demons or crazy powerful main villains, but I think the Speedster category is not only more powerful than the Kryptonians, but more powerful than all the villains we've gone over so far. The least powerful of the main villain Speedsters, in my opinion, is Zoom. His powers include super Speed Force connection, which gives him super speed, healing factor, bodily vibration, intangibility, electrokinesis, superhuman durability, supermental mental process, accelerated perception, aerokinesis, interdimensional travel, speed mirage, superhuman agility, superhuman momentum, superhuman reflexes, superhuman stamina, superhuman strength, as well as time travel. And while we never see him do this, he could potentially also create time remnants. The reason he's less powerful than the likes of, I'll spoil it now, Savitar and Reverse Flash, is because he's shown to be using less powers. He's clearly slower than Savitar, and Reverse Flash has this one other ability that makes him, that the zoom in Savitar can never have, that I think makes him more powerful. But let's move on to, you already know who's up next, Savitar. So Savitar has all the same abilities Zoom has, however he's confirmed to be faster, as Barry was faster than Zoom at the end of Season 2, but then Season 3 comes around, and he is significantly slower than Savitar. So Savitar is a lot faster than Zoom. He's also been shown to be using other abilities. Since he is Barry Allen, he has all the powers that Barry Allen has used, and Barry has used a lot of powers that Zoom never used. Specifically, the main one is flash time, the speed force sharing, the slowing down of time. That's something that we never saw Zoom use, and that's something that we did see Barry use, which means Savitar has those powers. But I think the main reason he's higher than Zoom is that he is way faster. So, Thawne has all the same powers that the Flash has, meaning that he has all the same powers that Savitar has. However, there's one power that the negative Speed Force gives him that the Flash and the rest of the Speed Force connected speedsters, which is also Savitar and Zoom, do not have, and that's immunity from being erased from existence. By hiding in the negative Speed Force, Thawne was able to protect himself from being erased from existence not once, but twice. Once from The Flash Season 1, another time from Legends of Tomorrow Season 2, where he survived those erasures because he took refuge in the negative Speed Force. On top of that, along with all of his speedster abilities that Savitar and Zoom also have, I think Reverse Flash can be said to be not the fastest, but the most powerful speedster villain in the Arrowverse. Out of the two main villains from Legends of Tomorrow that were demons, Mullis, who came first, was a lot more powerful. He's immortal, he has supernatural immunity, demonic possession, resurrection and restoration of those resurrected people's souls, telepathic powers, illusion conjuration, memory manipulation, flight, pyrokinesis, which is control over fire, chronokinesis, which is control over time, including time travel, as well as power bestowal. The powers that he was able to bestow to specifically Nora are photokinesis, which is control over light, thermokinesis, control over fire and ice, mediumship, superhuman durability, superhuman strength, telekinesis, and immobilization, making Mullis or Malice, however you want to pronounce it, one of the most powerful villains in the Arrowverse, but he's outclassed by two other beings. So at the beginning of his season, which is The Flash Season 4, Clifford DeVoe only had one power, and that's superhuman intelligence, which would put him fairly low on the list. However, over the course of the season, he took the powers of not one, not two, but 12 different metahumans, which gave him such a vast array of powers that he uses all the time that make him not only the most powerful villain on The Flash, but the most powerful main villain in the Arrowverse ever, except for one. These powers include technopathy, which is control over technology, dimensional manipulation, DNA manipulation. With that DNA manipulation, he can also bestow powers and transfer powers mainly. Effigy animation, which is animation of statues. Gravitokinesis, which is obviously manipulation of gravity. Jinxing, size alteration, sound manipulation, telepathy. Psychoactive fluids, which is Weeper's drug tears, as well as elasticity, which gives him all the powers of the elongated man, who by himself with that power alone is an incredibly powerful superhero, with along with the elasticity, superhuman durability, as well as shapeshifting. The Thinker's list of powers is so large that he is more powerful than all the other speedsters we've gone over so far, any demon we've gone over so far, the gods we've gone over so far. The Thinker is really that powerful. However, there is one main villain that is even more so. The Anti-Monitor is, I think quite appropriately, the most powerful main villain in the Arrowverse. His list of powers include omnipotence, super strength, telepathy, telekinesis, possession, power bestowal, energy projection, gravitokinesis, levitation, essence absorption, antimatter projection, earthquake generation, size manipulation, interdimensional travel, extended longevity, and force field generation. A list of powers that at least puts him on par with the Thinker. In fact, I think it's even more powerful just off the list. However, it's his feats that show that he is clearly a lot more powerful than any other villain in the Arrowverse, as he was able to destroy the entire multiverse, not only one world, one planet, not only even one universe, but an infinite amount of universes he was able to destroy, and he succeeded, something that even his comic book counterpart never did, meaning that, that's something that no other villain could have ever come close to doing, and not only just based off the list of powers, but also based off his feats. The Anti-Monitor, the main villain of Arrow Season 8, is clearly the most powerful main villain in the Arrowverse. So that is my ranking for all, at this point, 28 main villains in the Arrowverse. I mean, there's a lot of other Arrowverse shows that aren't the main Arrowverse, but at this point I'm including only Earth Prime shows, which is again Arrow the Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning, and Batwoman, and then once it comes out, also Superman and Lois. But if you disagree with my list, if you think there's a villain who should have been higher or lower, or maybe a villain that is lower than another villain that you don't think that makes any sense, let me know in the comments down below, because I would love to hear any feedback from the list, from the video, from anything. And also, if you like this video, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.